This is a follow-on talk from my last video. It's called The Rebirth of Our Sun Caused by the Nant Effect. I suppose I should try and explain energy solar systems tend to go from a low energetic state to a high energetic state over cycles of time. The ancients knew these cycles of time. They had their 5 or 6 ages, and these were roughly based around 5,000 year cycles. So it's a bit like a flat tire on a car. It slowly goes down, the energy is lost, it's got to be pumped back up. And NASA recently have discovered this Nant effect, as I call it, which are particles, low energy particles are leaving our solar system because our solar system is in a low energy state. The magnetic field of the of both the sun and the earth are doing very strange things, so they're in a low energetic state, and so the whole solar system is in a low energetic state, which means that it's like a flat tire. Obviously, particles then stream in from other solar systems along magnetic fields. These weren't even supposed to exist. My predictions back maybe 2005 or pre-2005 that they would be part of a universal field which the ancients understood. The particles moving on these fields mean that they can now observe the field. This is probably one of the predictions that I was making, because this energy was seen in a higher magnetic field of the Earth. And so what we have is a natural process within a cycle, and this is a process of recharging our solar system. And these streaming particles, the Nant effect that I call it, will be recognized as a real phenomenon, and probably already is. So what I want to talk about is the Welsh is one of the oldest languages. There was a founding language, and basically you need to look up this website and you can read it yourself, but Celtic, spelled with a K. It's like the ancient Britain, but Welsh and Gaelic and the some Scottish dialects all date back to this movement of language around 2000 BC. It's hard to date this. It probably could be earlier. And so I should explain what Nant or the Nant effect is. Now Nant, these old Bronze Age place names. Nant means stream, or a little river, but stream, brook, whatever you want to call it. And Tarw, obviously by the way that it sounds, is Taurus. It also can mean bull, but so we have the stream from Taurus, and that is the name of a megalithic site in the Upper Swansea Valley. So my argument is that the Bronze Age, and there are some arguments, you only have to have a look at the Torrid page on Wikipedia, and they also suggest that megalithic builders were aware of these Torrids. So nothing new there, I suppose. I suggested this on an archaeological site, or interested in the megaliths, and I was ridiculed. But of course, the Taurids are an interesting phenomenon. They are named after the radiant point in the constellation of Taurus, where they are seen to come from the sky. Now, space was supposed to be empty, and yet it's like the double talk of the Illuminati. We got particles coming from Taurus on a cyclical nature, on some sort of magnetic field, but it's not supposed to be happening. Now, I don't know how on earth they work this double speak, but they do. They've confused us, but of course, to admit that the cosmic tree or the planets are all linked and gravity didn't form the planets, because that's the thin edge of the wedge takes you to these conclusions that gravity is not a force that binds everything together, it's electromagnetism. And there are many people studying that. So astronomers Duncan, Steele, Bill Napier suggest that the beta Taurids, which occur at a certain months of the year, could be the cause of the Tunguska event, because these Taurids were happening at the time the Tunguska event happened. I would agree with them. I've done a video on it, so I'm not really going to talk too much about that video. Just that there's a video if you want to have a look at it. It'll describe what the villagers were observing, or one of the eyewitnesses who saw the object moving in the sky prior to it exploding. I don't think we can overly concern ourselves about what is coming. These things happen before. They're in cycles. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time in anything, I can stand in the middle of a motorway. I can cross the road at the wrong time. So these things are all about timing. So and location, time and location of where you are at the time when these things occur. And it doesn't matter whether a bridge falls, bad engineering, a bridge falls into the sea or anything. So it's not something to overly concern yourself about. Another Tunguska event. If you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. May sound a little bit harsh, but there we go. That is the nature of things. So I want to go back to the Nant effect, and what I'm showing here is a video of Nant, and what we've got is that these are being slowed down to probably about a 64th of normal speed, and they're whizzing. The paired bars are whizzing around the tip of the megalithic stone. They're moving in the opposite direction from the rain. There's light rain that's falling, you can see that, but they're bending round the tip of the stone and heading towards the camera and away out of shot. So these bars, we have about 500 video clips. They're not great. They weren't done with great equipment. Need to be revisited. Need funding. But I've done the best job that I can. So what I followed on with, so that's Nant, and what I followed on with is infrared shot of another paired split bars. So they're moving across. So these are now the bars of the Orb Bar Wave that I've been talking about for many years and studying for, as I say, 2 decades. The formal research started in 2000. So what we have is a bar that's extending as it moves away from the camera, because it's moving up. The camera lens is at a certain height, so it's moved away from it. And this is an interesting one. Now, I suppose I better take a bit of time to explain it. This is posted by someone who's observing Soho and the sun's effects. He describes it as the weirdest CME. Not how I would describe it, but he hasn't done the research that I've done. One thing that he does say is that he tends to record everything, because sometimes when events like this happen, NASA take them down off their sites. This is one of the times when NASA have taken it down. So I'll describe what's happening from the context of the Orb Bar Wave. A bar is entering into the sun. The direction that it has come lends itself to creating a magnetic field out. So that energy then, it's in and out energy, into the sun, out of the sun, along the magnetic highway, back to where the bar had originated from and its energy. Oh, that's what I would think. That's the best sort of understanding I could give to it. So it's a bar that enters into the sun, similar to the bars that we've been recording, which aren't flies. They're part of the prediction that I've made that bars, orbs will be seen coming out of the sun. Now I can explain why I made that prediction, but I would like to show one of the images from the book that I wrote in 2000. Well, I was writing it around 2006. Probably completed around 2007. And what we have is the energy exchange of the Orb Bar Wave and how it works. Nobody's going to get that. They're going to have to do a load of work to even understand that. Some string theory people, specialists in string theory, may recognize it, but they have to deny it because string theory has to be quantum. So, you know, if I said the final image, the furthest image on that sheet, reading it as you would a page, that is an open string. And I can explain how open strings become closed strings. Nobody in the world can do that. But that's under the fractal string theory rather than quantum string theory. So that gives a fairly good indication of the process, or the best that I can understand it. I'm not going to say that it's the total answer to it, but it's a reasonable answer. All of these things and these shapes and geometry have been carved in the rocks in the Bronze Age petroglyphs. You can visit some of my other work if you want to have a look at it. Doesn't matter to me whether you believe it or not. I had a comment today suggesting that I'd painted or manipulated data, and it had come from one of the societies who preserve rock art, and they do a really valuable job. So, you know, they're accusing me of manipulation of data. That doesn't happen with me. So what I have now is I want to talk about, because I've talked about bars entering the sun, I want to talk about how quickly, and it is covered in that other video, is how orbs send out strands. These strands of energy are attached to plants and humans. They enter into humans and all sorts of things. But there's a piece of rock art that is painted by the Scandinavian Rock Art Society, and there's a picture of an orb with a strand. Now what we have here is an event back in March of an orb attached to the strand. It's not taking any of the particle into itself, otherwise it would start to appear orange. It's like as though it has an energy of itself, and we can only see it because the energy of the sun is illuminating the black spot, the blackness of it. So it could be antimatter. Physicists need to have a look at that. But that is repelling or holding out the energy, but it's pushing through the strand, recharging the sun as I predicted. So we have a bar now that has entered into the sun, and we have an orb that's attached to the sun and shared its energy and blast off its surface. So this image is not going to be understood by anybody, and there's no point in me explaining it, but it forms part of the decades of research. And so what we're going to do is repeat it from the other angle. I think these are the stereo Soho images, where there are three strands attached to the sun. You can see the particle is sort of showing where the orb is, and it's illuminating it. Now, what happened at the end of the last minimum was a sun event, which was recorded by Hans Glazier, and this mirrors our research. So we could be very close because we're at the end of solar cycle 24. I would expect this within a 2-year period, could be even earlier. And the final image you can read for yourself and make a judgment of yourself of whether there's any similarities with this biological universe driven by magnetic fields and the Orb Bar Wave. Thank you very much everyone for listening.